Future Now Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Hey Futurists, it's your favorite Futurista, Miss Metaverse here, welcoming you back to another exciting episode of the Future Now Show brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam. We have a very special show for you today. Joining me from Nashville, Tennessee is the most connected man on earth. His name is Chris Dancy. He's a keynote speaker, a consultant, and entrepreneur who describes himself as a mindful cyborg, utilizing up to 700 sensors, devices, applications, and services to track, analyze, and optimize all areas of his life, from his daily calories to his spiritual well-being. Hi, Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Futurista.
Yes. So excited to have you here. I mean, out of everyone that we could speak to you about the future, who better than Chris Dancy? Let's talk about your life. How did you become the most connected man on earth?
Can we talk about Futurista? That is like the coolest name ever. It's like coffee from tomorrow. I'm 47, and when I turned 40, I just thought, my gosh, the world looks so bad in the future. I don't understand anything about it. So it's like 2009, maybe. End of 2008 was when I turned 40. So I just started thinking about all the things that could possibly work differently in the future. And the one thing I thought for sure would be true would be there would be no visible computers. And in a world where there's no visible computers, you have to figure out, well, what is the interface to computing? So I just thought, wow, the interface to computing at that point would probably be just behavior or your biology. So I thought, how do you capture that much behavior information? So I thought, where do I spend all my time? The internet. So I went to the internet and I started looking for ways to scrape my behavior. So I knew browsers could do it through cookies. So I started saying, So I looked at keyboard loggers in the beginning, something called Yahoo Pipes. So anything I did online would get scraped and then put into this data repository. By 2010, I was obviously had a smartphone, which was doing full-time GPS and a bunch of other things that smartphones could do then. And I was starting to put on wearable devices and some smartphone things, not a whole lot. But by 2011, it was on like Donkey Kong. I mean, I was just capturing crazy amounts of my day automatically. So just talking to people, I was recording conversations, and I always like to mention it has to be low friction. So the key is you should never see me collecting information. I should just be spending time with you. And then I should get, when it's over, like this interview, I should be able to send you a link to everything that happened in this interview. And you could be like, Jesus, I didn't even know, I just saw us talking. I'm like, yeah, but that's what's going on around you. So 2012, I went to something called Cyborg Camp, and there was a writer from Wired magazine in the audience, and someone said, you're the guy who collects all the information. Like, I didn't even tell anyone, it was like kind of a secret. So they pulled me up on stage, and I pulled up my Google Calendar, and I just started searching my life, and people were like blown away. They're like, how do you have every moment of every day, everything from the temperature of the room to the songs you're listening to what you ate? How do you have all of this money you spent, who you had sex with? How do you have all this? And I'm like, well, you got to do this. And I remember I just jumped up and down, and I said, wait a minute. And we refreshed the calendar, and at the calendar we saw the sound change, and it said jump. And they're like, how does the computer know you jump? So I started explaining how, sensors and all these systems kind of work together, and you need to stitch the information like as a fabric and put it on the internet so you can see it. The idea being very simple, that sometime in the very near future, as the interface disappears, everything we do and everything we interact with, whether it's a box of tissues or a water bottle, everything will be smart. And all of those smart things, you will want to act more personalized. So you'll want the water bottle to kind of let you know where you're at with your water, or maybe you've had enough water, you're gonna have to pee and you're right in the middle of an interview. Whatever, all of those things really need to know the last time you peed. So I thought if your behavior in your life is the interface, the experience would be what the computer would show back to you. So I created something called Existence as a platform, a computing platform for people to write habits and or environments that you download and use in your everyday life. And from there, I started writing my own. I lost 120 pounds. I quit smoking. I was on antidepressants. I was on benzodiazepines. I came off all of those. My career completely changed. I started meditating. I mean, there wasn't one part of my life that wasn't changed by a ridiculously fast feedback loop.
Wow, that's incredible. It really is. I mean, what advice would you have for someone who's maybe starting out and wants to change their life but feels stuck right now?
Oh, wow.
Speaking through technology, for instance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a big question. How about we do that one later?
Okay, sure. That's fine.
That's a heavy question.
Yeah, definitely. We can move on. Let's get this other subject.
I promise we'll do it before the end. I'm smart like that.
Awesome. All right, I'll hold you to it. All right, so let's talk about the next step. What is the next step between where we're at now with technology versus, where we'll be going in the future? How will technologies be evolving in ways that, will be more than we can perhaps even think about today?
Well, right now the interface is fast becoming voice, and the interface is fast becoming kind of smart command line agents that respond to things. So, bots and voice are kind of where we're at right now. We still aren't in, I would think, a fully evolved IoT or Internet of Things environment yet, but we're fast approaching it. So I always say to people, if you think about just the infrastructure of life in 2016 for me, and let's pretend I'm average, but I'm not. My car has a mobile operating system in it, right? So Apple CarPlay. My phone actually has iOS on it. My home is full of Apple devices, and I have an Apple device on my body. So let's just take that. So now my body can talk to my home, which can talk to my car, which can talk to my phone, which can talk back to my home, right? So there's this kind of mesh network. So this concept of a mesh network is really important because what we're going to find happening is as 2017 and 2018 come, you're going to find that the internet, like it doesn't really matter as much as what I call the internet, the space and the mesh network of things around you. As those things start to become more aware and more evolved in their communication with you, you'll have a whole new sense of security and purpose. Some of the easiest ways to start to grasp the idea of an internet or a mesh network around you and the privacy implications around that would be just thinking about if someone wants to follow you on Twitter, they follow you on Twitter. If they want to friend you on Facebook, they friend you on Facebook. If they want to link into you, they link into you. And those are all very external systems where you construct an identity. But if someone actually friends you on Fitbit, you can't really construct that identity. You are a sloth who's not sleeping, or you're not, right? It is what it is. And if someone then friends you on MyFitnessPal, suddenly they know how you're sleeping and how you're eating, and then they also know what you're putting in your body. And if someone goes a step further and friends you on 23andMe, they now know what you'll die of and what diseases you possibly are resistant to medication treatment for. So the scale of intimacy really pervades the future. And oftentimes, I think in futurology, we talk about a lot of technical concepts or philosophical concepts, and we really avoid the kind of the human implications of how the future looks and acts. And I think one of the most missed things is this concept of privacy and or safety in the future. While the future could be this place that's going to help a lot of people, before we get there, it's also got to become evenly distributed. And the uneven distribution of the future is really where this privacy and safety concerns really start to come into play. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's exciting. I mean, it's incredible to think about how fast all the technologies just keep on evolving and how everything is shifting. I love that idea of an internet rather than an internet. So
mm-hmm. Awesome. Internet, yeah, because there's no browser for your life yet, and your life's full of all of these like sites that you could friend and follow. Just you. I just think if we treated the future with the same regard that we do our attention, it would be a much happier place.
Definitely, I love that. So let's talk about spiritual machines. What does that mean?
You're gonna go right there. So Ray Kurzweil wrote a book called The Age of Spiritual Machines, and I think that's the name of it. I'm embarrassed for not knowing, but I think I'm close. When I think about spiritual machines, I really think about there's a I don't want to say famous painting, but there's a painting of me. A lot of people, if you Google my name, you get it, and it's me holding a mask of a computer, and the computer's holding a mask of me, and we're looking at each other. And I found that one of the most disconcerting things about accelerating into a future for myself was how lost and sad and depressed and lonely I became. And I struggled with it and occasionally still struggle with it, although I have different sets of tools now. But all the technology in the world isn't going to be able to evolve our minds fast enough so that we can handle the onslaught of just living in a world that runs by rules that are from 1700 with technology from 2100, where people act like they're from 1500. It just, this kind of temporal time slicing of behavior is really difficult. So when I talk about contemplative technology or spiritual machines, I think about technology that reflects our deepest and most profound kindness that we want to show ourselves. And that's in those moments where after you've blown up and you're not beating yourself up and you're saying, considering all the stuff I've been through today, I feel pretty good about how I handled that. I could have handled it better, but I feel pretty good about that. That to me is the most elegant thing you can do to yourself, right? Because no friends will tell you that, and family will tell you that, and you can buy yourself out of it or drink yourself out of it. But at the end of the day, if you don't tell yourself that and believe it, then it's not going to do any good. You're just going to be stuck in this hellhole. So I really believe that technology and machines really have an obligation at this point, at least for the next 30 or 40 years, to be designed in such a way that they reflect our lives to us so that we feel, I did pretty good with that. Considering how that could have gone, or, so there's this concept of metadata, right? And it's like the data about data, Metaverse, right? But there's also this concept of meta in Buddhism, which is a friendliness towards yourself. T, long T, long T-A. And I'm sorry, T, long A. And meta is really just this compassion that you show yourself as you go through the day. Machines do it now, right? So if we think about a system like Facebook in their infinite wisdom borrowed this concept of temporal authority from a bunch of old applications and services, and they show you your life. This is your life a year ago today. This is your life 2 years ago today. This is 3 years ago today. And they allow you to edit it. So don't show me these people because that would be too painful. But ultimately, by allowing you to edit it, they're basically saying, we think we know best of what you need, so we're going to allow you to control that. And anyone who's ever been through a difficult breakup or lost a loved one knows that editing out the past is probably the most dangerous thing you can do. Yes, it makes it easier to deal with for the short term, but in the long term, pain is the only thing that evolves the human condition. Period. We don't lose our tails or develop speech because we're happy, right? We lose our tails and we develop speech because we're in pain and we're suffering, we're about to be killed off. That's what evolution does. So I think machines can aid in that evolutionary movement forward by helping to exemplify the difficult parts of our life without crushing us with them. And the point is, there's got to be something between, I'm never showing you this, and you're going to live in the hell because your boyfriend hates you and he thinks about you every day and you should have made a better decision, right? So that's really what I mean when I talk about spiritual machines and spiritual contemplative technology is what I call it.
Now, do you believe that machines will become conscious within the next 100 years? I know it's a big question, but it's fascinating to me, especially in the context of a spiritual machine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think when I say spiritual machine or contemplative technology, I mean a subsystem. Mm-hmm. I think before machines will become conscious, I think we will as a species. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's this interesting effect that's been going on for, about 50 or 60 years. They've studied called the 100th monkey effect, or the Zeno effect if you're into quantum physics. And that just means that these systems, who have what we see as no apparent relationship to each other, respond to each other. So the 100th monkey effect, basically a bunch of monkeys on one island started behaving like a bunch of monkeys on the other island. And obviously these two monkey groups don't know that they exist, but yet they're doing the exact same behaviors somehow randomly. We also see this with inventors phenomenon, where 3 or 4 people will come up with the exact same idea at the exact same time, and they'll be so far apart. That is a type of connected consciousness, right? So you could say that we are already conscious, but I don't think we're as conscious as we actually understand. So I think when Ray Kurzweil talks about, a singularity, I think he absolutely nailed the future, but he nailed it in the wrong direction. He nailed it as if the machines become exponentially smarter and faster and more connected, and therefore they grow in their ability to obtain what we would call consciousness. I think what we're going to find is because of that connectedness, and we are becoming machines, so we mimic the machinery that we use. What we're going to do is we're going to see the connections in each other, and then we're going to actually wake up as a group, you know. So just like you'd have like something viral on the internet now, you could actually have some type of emotional contagion that actually could go through groups of people at once and change them or evolve them in some way. But people already notice this. People already notice that we're all thinking the same things. People already notice and can feel each other's pull. You can look in someone's eyes like I'm looking in yours right now, because I can't look at the camera and look at you. So now I'm looking at you instead of at the camera. So I'm looking right in your eyes right now, even if it doesn't look like it. And I can sense time in you. I can sense sadness. I can sense, this hurried pace. There's just so much drama if we actually lean into people. And that comes from the connected nature of each other. So when I think about our text messages and our meeting today and this call, there's a bunch of input that I have that actually shows me how you're feeling, right? That's highly evolved. That's an awakening, and that's not the machines, that's us. So to answer your question, yes, I think there was a machine awakening coming, but I think since we are the machines, it's us that's awakening. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. I mean, this is one of my favorite discussions I've had on this show. I'm very passionate about the future, obviously,
yes.
But also, I hope that humanity does evolve together through these technologies. And I think you're an excellent example of how people can discover themselves through technology.
Oh, thank you. And you were one of the first people who wasn't the mainstream media to ever blog about me. Oh. And I remember when I saw your blog, it was me and some lady, and I thought to myself, gosh, she like knows who I am. Like it's different like when like the newspapers or TV talk about you, and you're just a news story. But like when I saw myself on your blog, I was really touched because I thought I wasn't just a news story to you, I was a person. And I just want to thank you for that, because I've never forgotten that, and I think about it every day.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you're super inspiring, and I think that more people should know about you and your story. And I think that, the future is awesome,
Yeah.
All right. So on that note, is there anything else that we want to talk about before we go?
I think the last thing is like, what could you do to make yourself feel better if you were stuck?
Yeah.
Left off?
Yes.
Cyborg. So, so I always say there's like, the most important thing you can do any day that you're feeling bad is to move slow. And I mean this literally. So like pick up your feet slow. Like grab something slow with your hand. Like I'm gonna grab this Kleenex and slowly bring it up. And when you can, just think to yourself, even the word slow. And if you're really, really gone, like it's not rage, that's one end of the spectrum, but you're actually depressed and you have that feeling like I'd just rather not be here. Slow is that's not the tool for you right then. You already know what slow is like, all right? But the tool for you then would just to be kindness. So what you need to do when you feel that way, just kind of reach in and say to yourself, I'm feeling really bad right now. And I know that there are other people in the world right now. Like if you're listening to this podcast right now, there are other people who are feeling horribly depressed right now. And say, I'm going to feel this sadness for myself, and I'm going to feel it for them too. And really connect to those other people in pain and yourself, and just say, I know I want to, end my life, or I know I want, but there are other people who feel this too. And by connecting and feeling that other people are suffering too, you actually mitigate some of your own. So, move slow when you can, and when you can't, really reach in and connect to yourself, because you're not alone. And if all else, fails, just, tweet at me or call me. I'm pretty good at returning messages.
Oh, you are seriously the best. Everyone loves you. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And where can we find you across the internets?
Chris Dancy, ChrisDancy in any Google. You literally can Google most connected and I still come up. Only if you do it in Google though. You have to Google most connected. And then that's my name is everywhere. And my phone number's online. I don't know. I'm pretty easy to find.
Great. Sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Chris. Now let's go build a better future.
Woo!
Woo! All right. Thank you so much. And here we go.